There are moments in life when you can't explain why things turned out the way they did. You miss a flight and later hear that something went wrong on that very journey. You lose a friend and somehow your peace returns. You hit rock bottom, only to realize that the fall was the only thing that forced you to rise. At first it feels like chaos, but when you look closely you see something else, a pattern, an unseen force guiding, redirecting, and protecting you from what you can't yet comprehend. Stoic philosophy often calls this force the logos, than the divine order or intelligence of the universe. It's not about miracles or superstition. It's about recognizing that everything unfolds in perfect balance, even when it feels unfair. The Stoics believed that nothing happens by accident. Everything has meaning, even pain. Especially pain. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." He understood that behind every unexpected event lies purpose, a lesson, a protection, or a redirection. Life doesn't always give us what we want, but it always gives us what we need to become who we're meant to be. Think about the moments that broke you, the rejections that left you questioning your worth, the doors that slammed shut when you were ready to walk through them. Maybe you were angry, maybe you begged for answers that never came. But what if those closed doors weren't punishments? What if they were shields? What if, in ways you didn't realize, something or someone was protecting you from a future that wasn't meant for you? There's a quiet intelligence behind life that often speaks through pain and timing. You might not hear it when you're in the storm, but you'll recognize its hand once the clouds clear. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment, it all leads somewhere meaningful. The Stoics taught that the wise person accepts what comes, not out of resignation, but out of trust. Trust that there is a higher order. Trust that life knows what it's doing, even when you don't. When we resist, we suffer. When we trust, we transform. That's why Stoicism isn't just about enduring hardship. It's about understanding that the hardship itself is sacred. It's part of your protection. When life removes someone, it's because their season in your story has ended. When it blocks an opportunity, it's because something greater needs space to enter. When it makes you wait, it's because patience is building strength inside you. Many people call it God. Others call it the universe, fate, or divine order. The Stoics didn't argue over names, they focused on alignment. They believed that to live well, you must live in harmony with nature and reason. And when you do, life begins to feel guided, almost as if every step is being coordinated by something wiser than you. You start to notice coincidences that aren't coincidences. You lose one thing only to find something better. You suffer deeply, only to become stronger in ways you never thought possible. You start to realize that the very moments you cursed were the ones that shaped your destiny. There's an invisible protection that surrounds you when you begin to trust this order. It doesn't mean bad things stop happening. It means you start to see meaning even in the bad. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift in perspective is divine protection in itself. Because the most dangerous person is the one who cannot be destroyed by loss. In Stoicism, freedom begins when you stop fighting reality, when you trust that whatever leaves was never meant to stay, and whatever stays has a purpose beyond your understanding. This kind of faith is not religious. It's rational. It's built on experience. Look back on your life. How many times did you think you were being punished, only to later realize you were being protected? Maybe that heartbreak freed you from a path that would have drained your spirit. Maybe losing that job was the only way you discover your true calling. Maybe that season of loneliness was meant to connect you with your own strength. Every rejection, every ending, every painful silence, and they were not coincidences. They were acts of mercy disguised as suffering. The Stoics would remind you that fate is not your enemy. Fate is your teacher. Life isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. And when you start to see it that way, you stop fearing the unknown. You stop begging for what's not meant for you. You stop running from pain because you finally understand. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. When the universe protects you, it often does so quietly. You won't hear voices or see signs written in the sky, but you'll feel a strange calm in the middle of chaos. You'll feel peace when logic says you shouldn't. And deep inside, you'll sense it, that something greater has your back. That's the hidden power the Stoics talked about, the peace that comes from trusting the divine order of life. You may not understand it now, but one day, you'll look back and realize every time you thought you were being rejected, you were being redirected. Every time you thought you were being abandoned, you were being protected. The truth is simple yet profound. The universe is not against you. It's shaping you, and if you've survived everything that was meant to break you, maybe it's because something far greater than luck has been watching over you all along. One of the clearest signs that a higher power is protecting you is through rejection alone, kind that feels unfair, painful, and humiliating in the moment, but ends up being the greatest favor life ever did for you. We all know that sting. You give your best, you hope, you plan, and then everything collapses. The job you wanted chooses someone else. The relationship you thought was forever ends suddenly. The people you trusted turn away. You stand there asking, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth the Stoics understood better than anyone. Not every rejection is loss. Some rejections are divine protection. Epictetus once said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." When we label something as bad, we create our own suffering. But when we pause and look again, we see that what seemed like punishment was often life redirecting us to something better, something we couldn't yet see. Every time you face rejection, you're being asked to trust what's beyond your control. That's the essence of Stoicism. Focus on what's in your power and let go of what isn't. You cannot control who accepts you. You cannot control the timing of your destiny, but you can control how you interpret what happens to you. Rejection doesn't close your path. It refines it. It cuts away what doesn't belong to your journey. Think about it. How many times did you chase something you thought was perfect, only to realize later it wasn't meant for you? Maybe you didn't get that relationship because it would have destroyed your peace. Maybe you didn't get that opportunity because it would have made you lose yourself. A higher power sees what you cannot. It sees the long road ahead. It sees how certain things, no matter how beautiful in the short term, could damage your growth in the long term. So when you're protected, you'll often face rejection, because what's meant for your soul's evolution will never require you to shrink yourself, betray your values, or live in constant anxiety. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." In other words, trust the timing of your life. If something leaves, it was never part of your pattern. If something stays, it serves your growth. The problem is we only see the surface. We see the closed door, not what's behind it. We cry over what's gone, not realizing it was never going to stay. But the universe, or divine order, sees the whole picture. It removes what blocks your purpose, even if it means breaking your heart to do it. That's protection, painful but pure. Because the truth is, life doesn't owe you comfort. It owes you growth. And growth often comes through discomfort, through endings, through rejection that forces you to find strength you didn't know you had. Every time you get rejected, something powerful happens. You're being pushed back onto your own path. You're being reminded that your worth doesn't depend on other people's approval. You're being taught to depend less on what's external and more on your inner stability. Your Stoic center. The Stoics believed that virtue, wisdom, courage, self-control, and justice is the only true good. Everything else is indifferent. Fame, success, love, and recognition. These are nice to have, but they don't define your peace. Because peace built on external things will always crumble when those things disappear. So when you're rejected, ask yourself, what is this teaching me about myself? Is this rejection freeing me from something that was quietly draining my spirit? Is it guiding me towards something more authentic? Something that aligns with who I'm becoming? Because that's what divine protection does. It realigns your path. It doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need. The Stoic approach to rejection is not to run from it, but to use it. Turn every disappointment into discipline, every loss into learning, every ending into energy. When life says no, don't beg it to change its mind. Stand still, reflect, watch, because often that no is not the end, it's the beginning of your redirection. Remember, the universe is not cruel. It's careful. It knows what you can handle. It knows what would break you if given too soon. So it protects you through rejection, even when you don't see it that way. Sometimes being rejected from one place is the only way to be redirected to where you truly belong. And often, when you finally reach that better place, that peace, that success, that love, you look back and thank life for every door that didn't open. That's the hidden design of divine protection. It doesn't announce itself. It works quietly, behind the curtain of your struggles, shaping your destiny in ways you'll only understand later. In Stoic terms, rejection is not chaos and it's cosmic order. It's life rearranging itself to fit your true path. So the next time something doesn't work out, don't collapse. Don't call it unfair. Smile inwardly and say, maybe this too is for my good. Because if you're being protected by a higher power, rejection is not a curse and it's a compass. It doesn't mean you've been abandoned. It means you're being rerouted. One of the most misunderstood signs of divine protection is isolation. That strange, quiet season where everything and everyone seems to drift away. You wake up one day and realize the people you once trusted are gone. The conversations that once filled your time have faded. The energy that surrounded you before feels foreign now. You start wondering if something's wrong with you. But in truth, isolation is not a punishment. It's preparation. When the universe, or what the Stoics called the logos, is about to elevate you to a higher level of understanding, it first pulls you away from the noise. It removes distractions. It breaks attachments. It clears your environment so that you can finally hear the only voice that truly matters and your own. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." He understood that solitude isn't loneliness, and it's clarity. It's where the mind returns to order, where wisdom begins to speak. But most people can't see it that way. They feel abandoned when in truth they're being refined. Isolation is the universe's way of cutting ties that can't go where you're going. It's a spiritual detox, painful, silent, but absolutely necessary. Because you cannot elevate while being surrounded by noise that feeds your lower self. You cannot grow when you're constantly influenced by people who live in chaos, negativity, or fear. When you're being protected by a higher power, you'll often find that the people who once understood you no longer do. The places that once brought comfort now drain you. The things that used to excite you suddenly feel meaningless. That's not depression, that's transformation. It's your soul outgrowing its old environment. The Stoics taught that nature is always in motion, and everything that grows must let go of its earlier form. The same applies to you. When your season changes, life removes the things that belong to the old version of you. You start craving silence. You stop chasing approval. You no longer fit in rooms where gossip, greed, or ego dominate the air. That's how you know elevation is near, because isolation always comes first. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." When you begin to separate yourself to focus inward, people might not understand. They might think you've changed, and they're right. You're no longer chasing validation. You're listening to something deeper, and that can only happen in solitude. Divine protection works by removing what you can't see as harmful yet. Sometimes it takes people away before they betray you. Sometimes it isolates you before a breakthrough, so you can learn to depend on your own strength, not others. Because when you're alone, your true character is revealed. You meet your fears, your doubts, your wounds, and through facing them, you heal. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you, but sometimes no one around you is meant to stay. In those times, your only teacher is silence and your only companion is truth." The universe separates you not to hurt you, but to align you, to protect your energy from people who can no longer walk your path. Think of the caterpillar. It spends most of its life crawling, surrounded by the familiar. But when the time comes to transform, it withdraws, completely, utterly alone. Inside that cocoon, everything breaks down before it rebuilds. That's isolation. That's divine design. Because transformation cannot happen in the crowd. It happens in the quiet. If you're in that season, right now, where everything feels distant and no one seems to understand you, take a breath. Don't fight it. Don't rush back to noise just to fill the silence. Sit with it. This is your rebuilding season. It's the higher power preparing your mind for clarity, your heart for strength, and your path for purpose. Solitude teaches what comfort hides. When you're alone, you learn self-reliance. You begin to see who truly cares and who was only around for convenience. You discover the difference between being wanted and being valued. You learn that peace doesn't come from company. It comes from alignment. Many people fear isolation because they mistake it for emptiness. But in Stoicism, isolation is fullness. It's the space where you finally meet your truest self without distraction. The noise fades and the voice of wisdom grows louder. Divine protection sometimes looks like doors closing. Sometimes it looks like being left out. Sometimes it looks like losing everyone you thought you needed. But behind that emptiness lies purpose, a higher calling forming in silence. You are being pulled away not because you are unworthy, but because you are being prepared. You're being equipped with strength, discipline, and peace that cannot be shaken by the world. And that can only happen when you are alone with yourself. So if life has isolated you, stop asking, why is this happening to me? Start asking, what is this shaping me into? Because no one becomes wise in comfort. No one grows in applause. You grow in silence. You grow in solitude. This is the Stoic path. To remain calm when the world feels empty. To trust the unseen process that is molding you into something greater. Because when the season of isolation ends, and it will, you'll walk back into the world lighter, wiser, and unshakably grounded.